Let's get into it. It's crime o'clock, yeah, feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick-tock, won't stop, let the facts talk. Pull up real close, yeah, it's crime o'clock. Clock, clock, yeah. Typically new, yeah. Neon signs glow, brick wall behind me. Headlines loud, but they never define me. They rush the story, skip the proof. I slow it down, let it show the truth. Files on deck, read every line. Timestamps matter, so does time. If it don't fit, I don't force the frame. Ask one question, whole story change. No fear my voice, no need to shout. Paper speaks when you read it out. If the math's off, I'll circle twice. Truth ain't loud, but it ain't nice. Yeah. Read it again. It's crime o'clock, yeah. Feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick tock, won't stop. Let the facts talk. Pull up real close, yeah. It's crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock. Read it again. They sell a narrative if I sell receipts. Courtroom quiet, but the pages speak. Word for word, no added spin. Let it stand, yeah, let that sink in. Screenshot save, timeline's tight. Missing pieces keep me up at night. If they say you're late, I say why. If they say case closed, I say try. No rush here, we do it right. Truth don't bend for the likes of hype. If you came for noise, you in the wrong spot. This is evidence, this is crime o'clock. Clock, clock, clock. Stay with me. This isn't background noise. This is pattern recognition. This is documents. This is crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock, yeah. Feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick tock, won't stop. Let the facts talk. Say it with me now. Crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock. Typically unique. It's crime o'clock. Yeah. If you're here, you're early. If you're listening, you're paying attention. Show starts now.
Welcome back to Crime O'Clock on Typically Unique. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Do you have an excitement hangover? What a day yesterday. What a day. Oh my goodness. The news of Brian Kohberger finally submitting official documents to withdraw his plea. We have been waiting to hear from him for so long. So to me, that's like the biggest thing. Also, well, I think the biggest thing is we have been wondering this whole time, is he really saying he's innocent? Is he really, we never knew anything. And now it is clear. It is perfectly clear that he is saying, I'm innocent and my truth is my innocence. And wow, I was very glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that. How this is going to play out, I don't know. Last night, I would say I went to bed with the thought of Hitler's going to immediately deny it. But now I'm not sure about that. I have to think more about that. What do you guys think? Do you think Hitler is going to immediately deny that? We wondered how much he was kept in the dark. Yeah. Yep. So Brian's messages, Brian's points that he is making is that The defense lied to him. Like, I personally, I'm just going to give you my thoughts and opinions. I could be wrong. You can let me know what you think in the comment. I think the ties between him and Taylor are completely broken now. Like, he called her out. It's making me look at Turvey in a different view. Like, I see Turvey as the true whistleblower. Like, he called her out and she got pissed. And I think that's evident. We've seen it. We saw it play out right in front of our face. I'm curious. Turvey said in one of his interviews that, no, he was asked in one of his interviews, have you talked to Brian Koberger? And he was like, oh, I don't have a need to talk to him. Why would I talk to him? Maybe that was a big fake. Maybe he has been talking to Brian Koberger. I mean, I read about some background information about Brent Turvey and listened to some other interviews of his that are not Idaho 4 related. And his recurring message was he truly wants justice. Like, he wants to fight for what's right. And out of all the experts that have come out and spoke, I mean, to me, he was the most boisterous, I guess. Carlos called him like the fire blazer. Like, he came out and just lit everything on fire. Yeah, Jen, I agree. Like, would Turvey come out and like blow his career, because his career is testifying. He's a paid professional expert testifier in court. I mean, I know that was a silly way to say that, but scorched earth, Sluther, you got it. I don't think he would blow that. Yep. And I maybe have a sneaking suspicion when I read Brian's letter to the New York Times, when he used the words broken plea, I mean, come on. There were messages in there. I think there were some messages in there. Broken plea, like, come on. So to me, that's Whitcomb and Turvey. So maybe Whitcomb talked to BK. Maybe, but Whitcomb is, I think Brian and possibly his family read Whitcomb's book. Because Whitcomb's an author. I know he's FBI. I know he's former FBI. So maybe they both went. Maybe Turvey and but I think Turvey would be more significant to actually speak to Brian because of his knowledge of the case. It's just my opinions. All right. Good morning, G Bean. Good morning, Turkey Creek gal. K Kaz girl. Hello. Cy will be back in Law Enforcement Brotherhood. Yes, he will. You don't think Turvey had private conversations with him, but you think he got messages to him? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Brian didn't say this in any of his paperwork, I don't think, about being withheld the opportunity to meet with people. Have you guys heard that? I have not heard that. He said he said they told him to lie. Like, they knew he was fighting for his innocence. I'm innocent. And they're like, well, it's okay. You can just lie and get this plea deal because it'll be a better situation for you. And that doesn't shock me because I know that's how plea deals go. And it's so funny that one of the questions that they always ask people who are entering a plea deal, have you been coerced into this? Probably 99.9% of plea deals is a coercion of some type because it's a deal. You're getting something from the deal. You're getting promised something. We'll take the death penalty off the table. We'll lower your charges. We'll lower your sentence. There's always something. There's always something. Hello, sparkly starfish. Hi, Becca. Hi, Blue Devil. See who else is in here with us today. Pretty much Finland. How you doing? Hi, Arya Stark. The experts are a mess, but I think I love the phrase "good trouble." Good trouble. There's actually a TikToker with that name, and I really like him. You know, causing some chaos and some trouble to fight for what's right, and I think that's what Whitcomb and Turvey and Cy Ray. I'm not giving up on Cy Ray. I think he's doing two things at once. I think he's contributing to the truthfulness of what he has seen and also, covering his butt so he can stay on law enforcement's good side. That's what I think. Hi, Song of the Siren, Jenna. See if I missed anybody. So today, I know that Hi Mystic Sin mainstream media is losing their minds. Sarah D. Irish. I love those little symbols you always come in with. Mikey Mike, clock it. And I don't want to talk about their ridiculousness. I don't want to spend 1 second on what Ashley Banfield has to say. I could care less. I'm not going to talk about the families because they're the families and they can, they have the right to their opinions. I wish that they could or that they would question things more, I guess would be the only thing. That would be the only thing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not showing any of that trash. And so, Netflix is dropping tonight after midnight with the documentary, and I'm so hopeful for that. I hope I don't have my hopes up for the wrong reason. And I thought, well, let me look into that. Okay, let me look into it. And so the first thing I want us to do, we're going to just watch the trailer and slow it down and see who's in there. And some of you have probably already done that. Hi, Paco Jewel. Oh, and so here, before we get into it, Netflix documentary, I'll get you the official title when I pull it up, is, let's see, how does this go? It is directed by Sky Borgman. Okay. She's a woman. And I looked up some interviews by her, and she likes to focus on the victims and sharing what they truly were like in their life and loved and all of that stuff. So she's the director. So she's going to be, deciding clips and probably bringing out the emotion of things, right? She's the director. Okay. She made a documentary called Unknown Number, the High School Catfish. Have you guys watched that? Isn't that the one where, I don't want to give the spoiler, but I won't give the spoiler, but it was about a high school student who was getting horribly catfished, and the person who was doing it, oh my God, horrific. Oh, there you go, Sluther 75. Spoiler, it was the mom. Can you imagine? However, if you watch that documentary, they kind of presented everything throughout all of the events, all of the suspicious people, until the end, right? So I'm thinking if they approach this Idaho 4 documentary in that same manner, then they should be highlighting all the different people. And yeah, live, love, toaster bath. Yeah, her own mom. It was, it was, and the footage they used, it was so great. It was so great. So that's her. I like, learned about her. I watched her talk and stuff, and I'm like, okay, she's gonna be the emotional side of this, is what I think. Now, the filmmaker, his name is Joe Berlinger. Okay. I looked this guy up, and he has made some banger documentaries, and he also has helped, what's the wording I want to use? He has helped free wrongfully convicted people. Boom. When I saw that, I was like, let's go. Let's go, because he's the filmmaker. He's the filmmaker. So we're going to watch the trailer, just talk about that for a few minutes, and then we're going to hear from Joe Berlinger. I want you guys to hear him explain a few things. Well, actually, that's what we're going to do today. I found a really good interview of him, really good. And he not only talks about the work that he does, but he talks about mainstream media. So we're not going to listen to mainstream media. We're going to listen to, how did they get this way? Like, we know what they're doing. We know that they're given a narrative and they're just running with it. And I have no need to hear them. And all the guilters, I don't know if you guys are on other social media platforms, but I had to, I only responded to one, and it was somebody saying, oh, Brian Koberger's boo-hooing, because they lied to him about what prison is like. No, they forced him to lie about being guilty. That's the lie. Get it right. The lie is that they forced him to lie about being guilty, right? We need to keep saying that to people. I think that's important, and they're missing that. And that's one talking point that they're spinning. So if you guys want like a call to action, correct that spin. Brian saying that his defense forced him to lie. And speaking of call to action, just super quick, if you have put in a FOIA request, and if you have received a FOIA request and it was redacted, I just learned, you might know this, I did not know this, you can turn around and ask MPD to give you an itemized list of responses and reasons why every single redaction was made. And they have to do that. We're going to drive them insane. I feel like we should be compelled to do that, to hit that point home. So Connor, Christy, big creators that are getting FOIAs, Accomplished Day. I don't want to miss anybody. I shouldn't have had Logan. I shouldn't have started calling people out by name. But if you have received an interview or a document that is overly redacted, or any redactions, you can turn around and respond to them. Yeah, I included Jules in the big creators. Lana, Jules. Yeah. Turn around and request an itemized, detailed, for every single redaction. They have to tell you why they did it. And at least we would have it in writing, right? Yep. Okay, so let's just look at the trailer one more time for what is coming out tonight after midnight. This one. There we go. I think I'm going to slow it down a little bit so we can see the people. I'll put closed caption.
Dispatching Moscow Law Ambulance for unconsciousness, 1122 King Road.
That's good. That's good. Okay, stay back there, please. Fuck. 13, I think we have a homicide. 2 college-age people, parents both to be deceased. Lots of blood.
The police department, if you're in here now, it's hell. We're on the 3rd floor going up.
We have 2 additional deceased.
Did you guys notice in that clip of the officer going upstairs? He didn't have booties on. No booties. No booties. And you are invited to our Sleuth Coop Discord to watch the premiere of Idaho Murders College Nightmare. That's what it's called. Idaho Murders College Nightmare. It's a 3-part series. They have 3 parts. It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. So tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. I will post links for that in our on our community page, just on my YouTube channel. So if you need the Discord link, we'll put it in the chat today. We will have it in the community post. Don't wait till the last minute. Come on over to our Discord and make sure you're in there. When you join, you just get into the Discord. It's just a big chat stream. You'll see all these different like titles of different what I call, they're called channels, but it's like a different chat tab. We'll just call it that. Go all the way to the bottom. We tried to keep it simple. Go all the way to the bottom, and that's where it's called Voice. You click on that and everybody can be in there. You'll have your own little screen and everybody's got to mute so we can hear it and we can chat while we watch. We can chat while we watch. Thank you, Mysticson. It is so much fun in there. Sorry, I interrupted this. All right, let's go.
On the 3rd floor.
We're gonna need everybody. We got 4 deceased.
In your 20s, the world is really at your fingertips.
So I didn't realize that this was being narrated by, I think, one of their friends. And they're going to show her, but I wasn't sure who it was. I'm sure one of you know who it is. So when they show the narrator, put the name in the chat. And also for anybody else they show. So far it's just been the victims.
College is a special bubble. Hi, my name is Anna Kernodle.
Ethan Shapen.
Keely Gonzalez. Say hi, Maddie.
Maddie and Keely were like sisters. Dana and Ethan were so cute together, just made a lot of sense.
Oh, that girl. That girl.
So Dana and Ethan were so cute together, just made a lot of sense.
Who do you guys think that is? That's not Emily or Josie. It sounds like Dot. Please hit the like button. I don't know who this is. I'm assuming it's a relative maybe that we haven't heard from. I thought Ava Wood was blondish. I don't know. Maybe a relative or a sorority sister. From Academy Award nominated filmmaker Joe Berlinger.
I can only imagine what was going through their minds.
Okay, who was that? I thought maybe that was Ava.
I can only imagine what was going through their.
You think? I think this one is Ava. This one is not Emily or Josie. I don't know. Maybe. No, Josie's on TikTok. I think it's Ava. Ava spoke a lot.
Minds.
That's not Josie. I don't think that's Josie.
I would have never believed what occurred in that house that night.
It was absolutely horrific.
They told her to go down to the police station.
That's an interesting image. Where's this? This must just be like a clip that they use. I don't think this is like real footage from anything.
They told her to go down to the police station.
I knew something bad had happened.
All right, so Xana's dad was talking and now Christy, so probably all the families will be in it.
All kinds of questions go through your mind. How? Who? Why? What happened?
Is that Green? Who is this guy? Or is this the Dean of Students guy?
All kinds of questions go through your mind. How? Who?
Is that Dean of Students guy? Blue-Eyed Butterfly, hello. We're looking at the trailer for the Netflix documentary that's coming out, and then we are going to listen. Sorry, I had a notification pop up on my computer. Then we're going to listen to the filmmaker. It's not Green. Okay, this is that. I can't remember his name. Oh, I can't remember his name. He's the Dean of Students.
Why? What happened?
We were waiting for an arrest. There was no information. We had
We all know who that was.
1,000 questions.
We were all together and then Maddie left.
Oh, I'm going to be so frustrated if they only pick and choose certain parts of Bethany and Dylan's interviews to show. That part, I have a feeling. And what I want us to do today is just discuss this and like make predictions on what we're seeing. Like, what do you guys think? He has a fly blowout. That's funny. That's funny. I'm afraid that they're only going to show the sympathetic pieces of their interview. Yeah, I am afraid of that. Okay.
We need to go to the club.
This individual followed them.
She got picked up in a silver sedan.
So what I'm hoping and what we're going to look at today is to get to know the filmmaker and how he has made past true crime documentaries and his approach, and then think, okay, what would he do with this? So like right here, I'm thinking they're going to have to put the spotlight on Jack Showalter. Like they were just talking about, oh, they were being followed that night. You know, are they going to truly share how the whole community was like, who is that guy? Like when we didn't know who Jack Showalter was, he was like suspect number one. We were like, who is that guy? He's following them. They're not talking to him. That's weird. They like ditched him. And now they're talking about the private driver. So I'm hoping that's the case so that they will let the world that's going to watch know that there were like other scenarios out there from the get-go. They won't be talking about the fireman clad in black with a minivan. I think they're going to talk about that. Yes, his last name's Eccles, isn't it? I was going to say, is it Wayne? No. What's his name? Yes. He's the Blaine. I knew it was something like that. Oh my God, it was on the tip of my tongue. Blaine Eccles. He's the student. Now I can't think of the title of what he does. All right, so they're showing grub. They're going to show corner club footage. They're going to show grub truck footage.
I got a size 13.5 shoe coming and going.
There's some dried blood on the sink.
All right, crime scene photos. There's going to be some crime scene photos.
I heard her scream as she saw someone.
Oh my God. That's in the trailer, you guys. Hold on. They're showing Dylan in the trailer saying, I heard her scream. I think that's huge. You heard her. We talk about that. I heard her scream, but I waited 8 hours to call somebody. Right? That's in the trailer. Oh my gosh. I hope this is going to be good.
Why these kids in this house?
All right. Join us tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm getting the Discord link right now. I can show you guys. When you get into Discord, you're going to look for my teal, blue, glowing, and purple Discord that says typically unique. And when you open it, you will scroll all the way down to the bottom over here on the left-hand side. Just scroll, and it says Squawk Box. Click the Squawk Box, and it says Netflix. You can't miss it. It says Netflix, and you just click that. Wait a minute. That's a chat. Why is that a chat? Okay. So that's all you do. Stop sharing. And let me grab the link. Right there. I just think it'll be so fun to now. Jen 7S has graciously volunteered to host this for us. I will be popping in and out because I can't be on my normal schedule the rest of this week. Okay. So, but I will be popping in. I think it's going to be so fun. I'm so mad I can't be there the whole time because it would be so fun to chat with everybody while we watch it. Just click on the Squawk Box and you're good. Come on, you guys. There's 94 people watching right now and 37 likes. Please hit the like button. All right. Okay. So let me show you this. I found a couple clips, just shorts of Joe Berlinger. Joe Berlinger created Paradise Lost and the West Memphis 3 series. So he's very well known. And he's been interviewed a bunch of times by like movie channels.
How did you find this story, Joe? What made you decide?
Yeah, I was always intrigued by the story. In fact, when we made Paradise Lost came out in January of '96, and this story happened during the year of release. And I remember, despite having just made a film about the press completely getting it wrong in Paradise Lost, saying that when we were literally the only people, the only people saying that.
This guy made a film about the press. He called out the press. He called out mainstream media and said, you guys got this wrong. You guys got this wrong. Like, I love people that like rage against the machine. Rage against the machine.
They were innocent.
Yeah.
You think I wouldn't have fallen for it, but like I got swept up in the press coverage. My daughter Sarah was 2 at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, God, I would never put my kid in a beauty pageant. I mean, and I just fell for all BS. And so it's so fascinating for me, years later, to be doing this with a whole new perspective.
How did you find this story, Joe? What made you decide?
So the story they were talking about, I'm assuming he has made a documentary about JonBenet Ramsey also. And they were asking him, how did you get involved in this story? And he said, he started talking about the West Memphis 3, how he knew the press. He knew that the mainstream narrative was wrong. And he was like the only filmmaker willing to call them out. That's why I'm so hopeful for this Netflix documentary. And then he said when JonBenet Ramsey's murder happened, he said, I fell for the mainstream media narrative, right? Everybody was questioning the parents and everything like that. And then he's like, until I started really looking into it. So I like this guy. I like this guy. All right, I have one more little clip of him.
I see a lot of similarities. The other reason I found this case fascinating, I see that, as you well know, I've done a lot in the wrongful conviction space, not just the Paradise Lost stuff, but I had a show called Wrong Man, which into a bunch of cases. I did a show called Killing Richard Glossop about Glossop, who's on his death row. I think is innocent. His case is in front of the Supreme Court right now. But I've helped with, along with you guys, I've helped get, you guys helped with 3. I've helped get some people out of prison, so I know something about wrongful conviction.
Yeah,
interesting. I see a lot of similarities. The other reason I found this case fascinating, I see that, as you well know, I've done a lot in the wrongful conviction space, not.
So he does a lot of work in the wrongful conviction space. Yeah. Yep.
Just the Paradise Lost stuff.
So not just the 3 boys in the West Memphis 3 case. He's done other things. He had a whole show. So there's a series. I saw what network it was on. It was, oh God, I can't remember. It was not Peacock, but it was something like that. But it's called The Wrong Man. Wrong Man, it's called.
Stuff, but I had a show called Wrong Man,
Wrong Man. Has anybody watched that show? So that sounds like it was a series, Wrong Man. And he highlights different wrongful conviction cases. This is who's making the Netflix series. This is who's making the Netflix series. Hi, Dog Mom. Hello. There are few moments in time when you can say, I remember what I was doing when I heard that. And I heard this great news watching Typically Unique. Oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, this is such a memorable yesterday was such a memorable moment, just came out of the blue for me anyways. I didn't have insider information to know, anything was coming. So yeah, that's so special. Whoever we were all here together, all here together, and how we found out. I was watching my reaction back and I'm like, oh my God, I just screamed for like 5 minutes. That was so sweet. Thank you for that. Thanks for reminding us about that. Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank 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 you for the support. Thank you. Thank you.
Turkey Creek Gal, you're going to look it up tonight and watch it tonight, like the series that I was talking about. Yeah. I think it's encouraging. I do think it's encouraging. And I'm glad that I dug into this because I started talking to people like here and there, like about the Netflix. And or maybe I was just seeing so many comments like, oh, it's just going to be another hit piece. Oh, just going to be another one. I really hope not. I really hope not. And, I think this guy's going to stay true to his form.
Into a bunch of cases. I did a show called Killing Richard Glossop.
Do you guys know the Richard Glossop case? I do not know that one, but apparently he's saying Wrong Man is on Amazon Prime. Yeah, let's all watch it. And then we can talk about it over time. Richard Glossop apparently I don't know when this interview took place. So whenever this took place, he was wrongfully convicted according to Joe Berlinger here. And he said his case is at the Supreme Court. Let me see if this has a date on it. His appeal went to the Supreme Court.
What's your favorite place?
Whoops. Is this the date?
Interesting.
What's your favorite?
Interesting. I see a lot of similarities. The other reason I found this case fascinating, I see that,
2024.
as you well know, I've done a lot in the wrongful conviction space, not just the Paradise Lost stuff, but I had a show called Wrong Man, which into a bunch of cases. I did a show.
Okay. So those were some clips. And now we're going to listen to a long form interview of him that I just think is very interesting. Close that one. And I think we're going to listen to the John Benet Ramsey case. Full interview. No, I think it was this one I wanted to watch. It was this one. Yeah. No, this is just an interview about him. And I think it's interesting. This will be interesting for us as true crime buffs. Okay. So he's going to talk about, are you guys familiar with the Alyssa Lamb murders that happened at the Cecil Hotel? What is your news about FOIA? G-Bean, I mentioned it already, but just a quick recap for FOIAs. I was saying anyone who has put in a FOIA request and gotten an overly redacted interview, you can and should, I think we should do like a call to action, put in a request for them to cite every redaction they made and a reason why they made that redaction. I think we should do that. We should do that. And they have to do that. They have to tell you, according to the law, why they did that. Yep. Okay, so Alyssa Lamb, he's going to talk about that case. He's going to talk about, we'll talk about it as we go. Just his thoughts on true crime, which I thought would be helpful for us to know to make predictions about this Netflix series. I gotta make sure it's showing up. Okay, it's showing up.
This was a place where serial killers let their hair.
Oh my God, he made the Ted Bundy tapes. He's made so much stuff. I pulled up his Wikipedia page about him. He's made so much.
Down, like Richard Ramirez, who would come back covered in blood, and no one's got a problem with that.
A hotel with a notorious past is the site of another bizarre case.
Elisa Lamb from Vancouver, Canada, is missing.
The big unanswered question is, where is she?
The last footage that we have of her was inside the elevator. That's where the case starts to go askew.
She kept looking outside the door. Why is the elevator not going anywhere? Is someone keeping her here?
Her hand movements are very strange and erratic.
Like she's conjuring a spirit. It makes people wonder, is there something evil going on here? It just blew up. In the web sleuth community, it created this feeding frenzy. If it's a murder, then you need a murderer.
You really don't have the full story.
She was running around trying to save her own life.
Bad things keep happening here over and over again.
This hotel was hiding something.
I would have never thought what was about to happen could happen.
This is the latest chapter in a dark history for the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah, they must have been just promoting that one. I'm sure they're going to say if he probably did make that. They're going to tell us. This is like an hour long and I haven't watched the whole entire thing. So we'll learn the information together as we go. But I sped through it and he makes some really powerful points in here. He talks about what happened to mainstream media, how he really tries to focus on like the facts and, finding the real killers, things like that. I forgot where I was going with that thought. Fun fact. I got to travel out to California with Carlos when he was on a work trip and we had some extra time. So we went down to downtown Hollywood. And that's where the Cecil Hotel is. And so we walked to it. We went and saw it. We tried not to go to the Skid Row side, but yeah, actually, I have photos somewhere of it. And that's where this happened. I know I watched this documentary too, because I know I watched this documentary because he shed light on suspicious people that I didn't even know about. Yeah.
Talking about movies, horror, sci-fi, unusual, unknown, forgotten. Who
is documentary filmmaker Joe Berlinger? Yay!
Hey, Joe.
Welcome, Joe. Coming back to Cinemondo podcast once again.
Okay, this is called Cinemondo podcast. And they cover all things movies. So, not just true crime. They do all kinds of movies.
And
nice to see you guys.
Good to see you too, as always.
Wouldn't be a premiere without a chat with my old friends.
That's right. Needed to be done, and here it is.
So this time we're talking about a new Netflix documentary that you're involved with about a building that I'm sort of familiar with. It's sort of almost in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah, we did a 4-part doc series that premiered, I guess, last Wednesday. Today is Sunday the 21st. Are we allowed to date ourselves?
Yeah,
sure.
That's fine.
It premiered on Wednesday or the week? No. What am I talking about? Premiered February 10th, so it's been out for 10 days.
Okay.
That's right.
I watched it the minute it came out, so it seems like a while ago.
It's one you can watch. You watch the first episode, then you go next, watch the second one, watch the third. You can't watch it, you just watch it right now.
You got to binge. You got to binge his stuff. I'm going to skip through this a little bit just so we can hear his talking points. But yes, so he made the Cecil Hotel documentary.
Seems to have hit a nerve. It's definitely not underappreciated, which is one of your categories. It seems to be appreciated. Although there's been a bunch of snarky reviews, like people who have to know better and tell you why everyone else is wrong. I mean, the social chatter has been incredible. Like if you go on Twitter or whatever, just tens of thousands of people commenting on it, largely positively around the world. But then if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, these snarky critics who just, I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously people don't have to love my work, and people are entitled to an opinion. And I generally find the things that are in the 50s and 60s on Rotten Tomato more interesting, because if all the reviews are just kind of mediocre, then the project has a good chance of being mediocre. But if there's like incredibly great reviews where it says it's like really smart, and like reviews where it says it's the biggest piece of garbage ever created, those two, that duality, which often happens with my stuff, then to me that feels like, okay, well, you can't please everybody, but the people who love it really love it and get it.
Hey, Brian Todd, you can do it on your phone. That's the only way I usually do it, is on my phone. So however you are on YouTube right now, it would work the same for Discord. Yep. Hey, S-tastic. Hello. If you're just joining, this is the guy who was the filmmaker for the Idaho Murders docuseries that's coming out tonight. And if you missed the beginning of this show so far, I shared a lot of information about him. And I'm hopeful about this docuseries.
Why do you think that is? Is it because it's just not cool to like the documentary crime genre, and they're trying to lump you in with just the trashy true crime as opposed to doing sort of social justice kind of filmmaking that you usually do? Or what do you think it is?
Ooh, he does social justice true crime documentary making. This is what I'm talking about. If he has looked at the Brian Kohberger case, if he has looked at it and has seen any questions about the evidence, I believe he is going to be putting those questions into the documentary. This is, I could be totally wrong. I'm going to come back, Thursday and, tail between my legs. Like, I hoped it was true, guys, but we'll see. My prediction is hopeful.
Turn my notifications off. Apologize. I should have done that. I mean, I think that, look, I know this may sound arrogant. I don't mean it to be arrogant at all. But to me, the proof's in the pudding. It's, it's in the top 10. Actually, it was number 1 for Netflix around the world. A couple of markets where it wasn't, but generally it was number 1 for the first week and a half of release in the vast majority of markets, including US, Canada, and UK. So English speaking world. More people have reached out to me about this one than in a really long time. Just people from all walks of life, people I haven't talked to in ages. So
look at his eyebrows. You talk about bushy eyebrows. Sorry. Sorry, Joe.
People are enjoying it, but then you read the reviews and they think it's the most, superficial, disrespectful thing.
I think, listen to what he's saying. This is going to lead him into talking about the mainstream narrative. So he made this Alyssa Lamb Cecil Hotel documentary, and this was 2024. This was a few years ago. Okay. He's talking about an old documentary that he made and how he presented, alternative suspects, some suspects, and he got mixed reviews when it came to not really the online people, but like more mainstream people. So I'm going to let this little part play. And I think this is going to lead him into talking about mainstream media. And I love what he says.
And yeah, disrespectful to victims. It's just the worst of the truth. It's like, wait, the whole point is I was dissecting.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, that's what I like. Sounds like they didn't finish watching it. Sounds like they watched the first two.
Or why is it? Or they have, it was trending on Twitter. So the critics who want to have, click-throughs to them have to go against the grain and show why people shouldn't be liking it. I don't know what it is. It's weird. You guys have known me for a very long time. And it's part of my work, subjects of my work in Paradise Lost 2, for people who don't quite know that connection. You were in Paradise Lost 2. You started the Free the West Memphis 3 support group. So we've been tethered in a very nice way for 3 decades. So you've seen the arc of my work. The strange thing to me is I actually, I used to get glowing reviews and small audiences, relatively speaking.
Yep.
Now I get huge audiences and shitty reviews. But my work really hasn't changed, I don't think. Of course, the subjects change. And of course, I try little techniques. But the things that animate me as a filmmaker, the subjects I take on, the social justice aspect of it, the exploding of stereotypes, that, all of my work, there is to me, a very, it does fall into 2 buckets, admittedly. I jokingly say, I either do murder or music, so like, but murder is more like, wrongful conviction, over sentencing in prison populations, focusing on marginalized communities that get shafted by the system. So it's not just murder, but I jokingly say murder and music, and when I've gotten too much, stared into the abyss of evil too long, I go off and I do a music film or a pop culture film, Metallica, Tony Robbins, those all fall into that bucket. But generally speaking, I think I've been pretty consistent as a filmmaker and in the themes and ideas that I've explored. So I'm fascinated by the fact that I used to get small audiences and great reviews. Now I get huge audiences, huge, and shitty reviews. What is it? Is it that I, as a filmmaker, have changed, or has sensibilities changed? I think it's the latter. And I think that's part of the problem with, the attack on true crime, some of which is legit. But people like to, we live in a society where we like to paint everybody with one broad stroke. And so true crime comes in all shapes and sizes. There's really irresponsible, bad true crime that is nothing but wallowing in the tragedy of others in a salacious manner. And then there's responsible true crime, which I believe I do. I don't take on a story unless I think I have some social justice message or some, the Paradise Lost series, obvious wrongful conviction. But, I've taken, Killing Richard Glossip, which I did for ID. There's a guy on Oklahoma's death row who is still on Oklahoma's death row who I think is innocent. My show Wrong Man on Stars, obviously. So obviously wrongful conviction has taken up a lot of my time, but lots of aspects of the criminal justice system have been my area. So to call me a true crime, filmmaker, and to paint me with that broad, I got an email from a UK writer who said, I'd like to interview you about the trend of using women as entertainment in, the murder of women as entertainment, and what do you think of that? Okay, I think the use of murder of women as entertainment is a horrible thing, and anyone who does it ought to be ashamed of themselves. But Do you think you have an agenda in that question there? And you're
Seriously.
and you're
What
trying to
you're doing with this thing is the opposite of that.
and
It's
you're trying
showing
to paint me with a broad brush. And sure enough, and then I checked, and her review of my film of the show was terrible. Totally misunderstood the point. And again, I don't mind if people don't like my stuff. That's I've been a polarizing filmmaker, review-wise and critic-wise for a while. But if you're going to hate it for the right reasons. At least that's the thing that is lacking, I think, in criticism. I know we weren't probably supposed to be talking about all this stuff, but you wound me up, and here it is.
No, man, I love it. I want to hear it because I feel you.
Well, on the most basic level, we live in this clickbait society where.
Okay, we'll get back to it in a second. You guys just made me think of something, because I've been thinking this since I found this guy. I'm like, someone had to have got to him. Someone had to have brought Brian's side of the story to him. And someone already said it in the chat. Who do you think would be the one person that has come out and spoke publicly on Brian's behalf that already has a connection to this guy? Did you hear it? Already has a connection. A bingo. Why isn't it showing? There we go. Nope. Bingo. Do you think if Turvey worked on the West Memphis 3 case, was he in the documentary? It would be interesting. I watched all the West Memphis 3 stuff. I was obsessed with that case. Obsessed. And if Turvey worked on the case, but they also used him in the documentary, I can't remember. I didn't know who Turvey was back then. But if we can go back, let's do that. Let's go back and look at the Paradise Lost. He made that one, and then he also made the West Memphis 3 series. So yes, Jen, you say Turvey was in it. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding. I think Turvey look at this. This looks like a huge collaborative effort with Whitcomb writes a book. This guy makes a documentary series. We've got experts coming out and speaking. Nobody on mainstream media wants to hear the experts. If the experts would have only come out themselves, this is totally speculation. So I'm either going to be like celebrating I was right, or I'm going to be like, man, well, it was a thought and it didn't work out that way. But I feel if Turvey and Cy were the only ones that spoke out, those are the 2 experts that have spoke out that worked on the case, no one would pay any attention. Mainstream media is ignoring them. And if they do talk to them, they cherry pick what they talk about. They don't really get into their points. They had to do something big. Writing the book, I think, was the first one. You don't remember if Turvey was interviewed, but he was shown on the stand. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, it makes sense if you're showing a documentary, maybe they showed the hearing, because there's a reason why he made 2, right? Paradise Lost. One of them probably was, I don't know how it went. But if it's post-conviction and the West Memphis 3, right? They're already convicted. They're in prison. And he makes a documentary series. He probably showed clips from court. And so Turvey might be in it that way. That's what I'm thinking. But wow. I hope I'm not getting everybody's hopes up. And then it's like, you guys can all yell at me. Kim, you got my hopes up. And it was a complete disaster. I will take it. But I don't think it looks that way.
Everyone's trying to drive people to their site. But what's the most outrageous headline? How can I go against the trend of something? You know, how can I get that attention? Although I'm doing the same thing by painting everyone with a broad brush. So I don't think it's, some people could legitimately be offended by true crime, by my work, by, you know, not like it, but like.
Oh, you reminded me, Sleuther. I've had this for a long time. I thought I was going to do a segment on this here. Is this going to be a nugget or not? We'll come back Thursday and you guys will tell me, was this a nugget or not? Oh my gosh.
I think what criticism lacks is, you know, it may not be how you would make the film. It may not be how you would tell the story, which, you know,
I agree.
but if you're going to judge somebody's work, especially like, you know, you spend 2 to 3 years making something, like my belief is anything that's out there is a miracle to get done. It's so hard to make shit. People do.
What if Brian's in it? Is that even possible? If Brian is in this documentary, oh my God, I have no way of knowing that. He's probably not going to be. I don't even know if he's allowed to be interviewed. I don't know. But what if?
Quite understand how hard it is to make shit. And then somebody spends 2 hours with it, 3 hours, 90 minutes, a half hour of typing at the keyboard where they just rip it to shreds, like, and destroy somebody's. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And I think to really truly be a critic in the classic sense of the word, a Pauline Kael, a Vincent Canby, you have to have some empathy and understanding what is the intention of the filmmaker. And even if you don't think that, even if you think the filmmaker failed to achieve his intention, and talk about the craft and what didn't quite work and the rubbery performances, or in the case of scripted or whatever, but like this almost like just level of vitriol that gets spewed, and a total misunderstanding or inability, or not even a desire to understand what the filmmaker had in mind, it just boggles my mind. You know,
I think it's a little bit sophisticated for some people too. They look at it and they think on the surface it's a true crime story about this victim, you know, and that's all they see of it. They don't look deeper into what you were saying in that framework, because you framed it around a story. It's basically not a story about a crime. It's a story about what happens around the crime. And, you know, the crime is certainly part of it, and it's a mystery, and it's solved, but you don't, it's not about her. To me,
more like the catalyst.
Well, no, it is about her, but it's not a crime. I mean, that's the thing.
Right. That's what's so fun. That's what I say fun.
That's kind of, you know, I was trying to, you know, make a larger comment about our obsessions, with the genre.
Yeah.
It is more popular than ever before, and people can't seem to get enough of it. You know, and a lot of irresponsible true crime is being done. So in a way, it's kind of a comment on that, you know, comment on this phenomenon of web sleuthing, which relates to you guys in a really fascinating way. And I often give this over the last week, I've given you guys as the positive example of a negative trend.
We had rules. That was one thing we set early on. We had this list of rules where we were like, we're never going to point a finger at anyone. We're never going to speculate publicly about who we thought did it. No conspiracy theories. And we're never going to paint ourselves as experts. We're never going to say that we're trying to solve the crime. And we talked about that right when we started getting involved. We were like, if we're going to do this, we started getting some attention.
Yeah.
And we were like, here's some things we really have to make sure we stand by.
Yeah, that's smart, and I didn't even realize that. That's the first time you ever told me that, but it's apparent in what was how you guys did your thing. But I mean, basically, the show is a cautionary tale about jumping to conclusions because, really, this is what it's about for me. Why I feel like if you're going to take a story, somebody's tragedy like Elisa Lam or any true crime story, I feel it's incumbent upon the maker, the storyteller, to have some larger social justice reason or some larger social commentary to tell the story. Otherwise, don't tell it, because for the person, for the average viewer, it's just another story on TV to consume. But for the person who the story is about and their family, it's obviously the worst moment in their life. And don't tell that story unless you can add some layer to it. And that's getting back to my original rant. It's like the reviews were like, totally almost on purpose, not trying to see the larger issue.
Yeah.
It's trying to portray, or maybe I failed as a director to put it out there, but I think enough people just have told me they get it, that it just makes it hard for me to believe that reviewers don't get it. But, again, they don't have to like it, but at least understand the intent before you rip somebody to shreds.
I think a lot of it is those aggregate movie review websites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. It's about like, how do I stand out as a reviewer? I get up to Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic. How do I stay there? Well, I be a contrarian reviewer. So a lot of times I think it's like, hey, I want to give this a terrible review because everybody's giving a good review. So part of it is that, I think.
Yeah. But and what people refuse to see in the reviews, but literally I know millions of people are seeing it because I'm seeing it my way because they're telling me, and and you can see in the comments in social media are like 9 out of 10 are largely positive. The whole point is that we live in this post-truth era.
Yeah.
We've seen it in politics, obviously. We have half the country, in fantasy land, about stuff. We live in a world worse than ever before where, whoever seems to tell the best narrative is the purveyor of truth, and that's something I've been concerned with throughout my career as a storyteller in nonfiction, as somebody who has applied fiction filmmaking techniques in documentary. Not the only one, but Brothers Keeper is given a lot of credit for having been very aware of, dramatic structure and a certain cinematic shooting style, which is now very commonplace in documentaries. Not taking credit for it. I'm just, we're among the early pioneers and the subjectivity of documentary. So the nature of truth is something that's always been, of concern with me. And of course, then you get to wrongful conviction, and wrongful conviction is the ultimate in the price you pay for two competing narratives, because two very compelling stories are presented to a jury. And if the wrong one is believed, a guy like Damien goes to death row. But I never could have imagined that we would live in the world that we've just come out of, or that we're still in. But I mean, the presidential campaign.
Yeah.
Where we really believe, people believe there just seems to be no objective reality for some people. And so the whole point of the dissection of the Elisa Lam through the Cecil window or lens this is a story that's been told as a ghost story, a paranormal, a haunting. And to me, that trivializes, talk about disrespect to the victim, which people often accuse true crime of doing. To me, the most disrespectful thing you could do to Elisa Lam is to dismiss her story as a ghost story. It two-dimensionalizes her, it trivializes her. So I wanted to, for the first season of the show called Crime Scene, where we go to a place that is infamous for crime, I wanted to kind of turn it on its head and actually show there was no crime at all at the end, but to tell the story of the dangers of jumping to conclusions based on circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Because as you guys know, every great murder has got or murder case has got an abundance of circumstantial facts that sound weird and coincidental, but without corroborating evidence, that's what leads to wrongful convictions.
We were batting away a lot of John Mark Byers accusers, because that was in parallels to this film, there was a lot of web sleuthing in the early days where they were going after John Mark Byers. And we were always like, don't point the fingers. We don't know. He's innocent until proven guilty. We're trying to go there.
Yeah.
He didn't help his case by,
we were always saying we're not going to
it.
do what they did to
Right.
Damien and Jason and Jesse.
Right.
We don't want to do that.
And so, so it's hard to say all cyber sleuthing and all web sleuths are bad. I think the web sleuths in my show had good intent. Obviously, the cyberbullying of Morbid was not a good thing, although none of the web sleuths in the show actually were involved in the cyberbullying. And interestingly, in a show that is very much about, on a larger level, the dangers of cyberbullying and the dangers of jumping to false conclusions based on circumstantial evidence, sadly, there's a bunch of people cyberbullying the people in our show.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Amy Price, who's the manager, who is a delightful person who, did her best and tried to make a go of that place. And, she's being harassed horrifically.
See, I don't understand. I thought she was amazing. She stood out to me. I thought she was
a small group of people who want to harass her, believe in the conspiracy theory still, think the hotel is covering things up, and they're going after her.
Yeah.
Same thing with the.
He put cyber sleuths in his documentary. Sleuther, are you listening? He put online true crime shows, YouTubers possibly, in his shows, not the ones who post other people's content and don't make their own content, but just post other people's content and comment on it. He seems not to like that kind of stuff, doesn't like the bullying that comes. There's, I don't know why TikTok is historically bad for that. Creators fighting with each other. I mean, I know it's happened on YouTube also. Ridiculous. I was glad to hear him. Sleuther knows what I'm talking about. Morbid. I've listened to that. I was a true crime podcast, like iTunes podcast junkie. Okay. I used to walk a lot. I'm like so mad at myself because I stopped walking. That's one of my goals. I need to get back to walking. And I could give you guys a list of like 100 amazing true crime podcasts to listen to. That's a new category in our Discord that we need to share. Some of my top ones are My Favorite Murder, True Crime Garage. They're from Ohio. True Crime Junkie, Murder with My Husband. Those are just the ones that I've listened to a lot. This guy's on fire.
Web sleuths, they're all being harassed for what they did to Morbid, and Morbid's a great character, and I hate to talk about people's character.
Well, he is a character.
Yeah. He's a great character in the show.
Probably fine with being called a great character.
And people are cyberbullying.
When podcasts get really, really big. Oh, the other one, True Crime Obsessed. I love them. True Crime Obsessed. Love them. They make true crime fun. They are hilarious. But they will go on tour. And My Favorite Murder came to Cleveland, and I went to their show. I saw a live show, and it was amazing. Carlos did that for me. Got me a t-shirt. I have one of their t-shirts. They wrote a book. I have their book. Do I even have it over here? Yeah. So let me know in the chat. Have any of you listened to My Favorite Murder? It's two girls, Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. And they have like funny sayings that they would say. They would say like, sit straight and listen crooked, sit crooked and listen straight. They would say things like that. And at the end of every show, they would say, stay sexy and don't get murdered. That was their saying. And that's what they called their book, Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered. And they just told the story of like how they came to have their podcast. I really like that one. Really like that one. Stay sexy and don't get murdered. They would also say, like, cut down all the trees, right? Because crimes happen in all the forests. Sit crooked and talk straight. Thank you. Sit crooked and talk straight. Yeah. I don't know if it was this interview or no, he has a couple. This show, what did I say it was called again? Cinemondo. They have interviewed him twice. So once they interviewed him about West Memphis 3. No, JonBenet Ramsey. They interviewed him about JonBenet Ramsey, and then this one. And when he talks about JonBenet Ramsey, he does talk about, the potential for them to use the IgG process, which my personal belief is they should be using that genetic genealogy to solve cold cases. Take your time, do it right. There's no rush. You're using it for a cold case. It's a last resort, and try to solve it that way. That's what I believe. I don't think IgG should be used in a active case. I think you should be using your active evidence. That's what I think.
So it's mind-boggling. We live in very strange times where people put their opinions out there in such a mean way. I just don't get it. But
it's a real mob mentality. You just hear, you can see the pitchforks coming out, and they all just kind of jump on, and it's so horrifying to see it. And it makes me sad about the manager of the place, because one of the things I really liked, I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing.
Witchy. Everybody's saying, don't say that. Oh my God. What was the podcast? Adnan Syed. That was my very first podcast I ever listened to. That was the beginning of the podcast. Serial. Oh my gosh. I loved that woman's voice that hosted that show. Yes. Adnan Syed. I don't think Adnan did it. I say free Adnan.
Going theme through the series is that I love how it was almost a depiction of the place, the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah, very much.
The mystery. I loved that.
The character, yeah.
And I love that it was it ignited my interest in Skid Row again, because you kind of sort of forget about it because it's a part of LA. And when you showed it in that context of how long Skid Row's been around and how detrimental it's been to the downtown and what's going on down there, I was like, what is going on with Skid Row? Why is this? So I started getting involved in it again, looking, trying to find out what our government's doing about it, what's happening, because that's a crime in and of itself, and letting that exist, and how bad it is for women. And it was really powerful on that level too, just knowing the place, and how far the Cecil,
Wait, he got out? He got out? I thought he tried to get out and he was out, and then they went after him again or something. I don't know. Oh, I got to get caught up on that. I didn't know he got out. See, I stopped listening to my regular podcasts. Out of the loop.
Fell and it's from its former glory. It was all very sad, and I loved her affection for the hotel.
Yeah, she hadn't talked to anybody in the past. She trusted our project because she knew we weren't going to dismiss it as a ghost story. And I thought she is incredibly.
Was Adnan convicted, or did he take a plea deal? That would be interesting to look into that. I guess either way, how he got out. Adnan Syed lived over on the East Coast, I believe. I forget which state it was in. And he had a high school girlfriend who went missing one day, and like he had seen her. He was accused of murdering her. She was found in a park, I believe. But there were other suspicious. I think it was the friend, personally. No. Is that the one? Wait. Is that the one with the guy with it's something to do with glasses, a glasses prescription or something? He's guilty. I'm not going to talk about it. He was found guilty. He didn't plea. Okay. Yeah, the friend who had his phone in car. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I thought there was a guy that like worked at a pharmacy too. Wasn't there a pharmacy guy? But I'll look it up. Maybe we'll talk about that someday.
Sympathetic in the show, and so for her to be attacked, it's just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
Crime
You just
Weekly.
almost have to
what
go
they
back
want
and
to believe.
who are these people? Who are like that? I feel like those people are the ones that it's not even about the case or the show. It's more about the problems with their own lives, and so they feel like they have to lash out at people who are
They're the vocal mob who go kite.
Oh my God, who is he talking about, you guys? Sluther, who could he possibly be talking about?
It's just
like my job is done here.
But then there's
But I've used you guys as a positive example. That's why you can't paint everything with a broad brush.
That's right.
I assume your listeners know your role, right? Do we need to repeat all that?
We
Or
probably should repeat because I don't know how many people listen to the entire thing as a narrative. But
Right.
this is probably one of the only times you're interviewed by people who are actually in your movies.
But we don't mention it every time, so it doesn't come up very
Well,
often.
you guys saw Kathy in particular. You saw when before HBO. I think it was after Sundance, but before HBO put it on TV.
Mhm.
You were tasked with doing the poster for
Right.
the original Paradise Lost. Couldn't believe what you saw with your screener that you were just supposed to watch to.
I passed it around.
To get the creative juices flowing for the poster design, but then you gave it to Burke and Grove, and you all just went nuts over the film and decided, a real grave injustice had been done. Started the West Memphis 3 support group website at a time, I call it, social media 1.0. There was no social media. It was just the internet.
You guys, I don't know if this show is still making content, but if they are, do you think they will interview him again for the Brian Kohberger documentary? That would be interesting because they set up a special page that he's describing right now to help with the West Memphis 3.
Internet for the first time was really being used for like-minded people finding each other on the internet, which has now become such an amazing thing.
There's a lot of work back then.
For better and worse, it's an amazing thing that people of like-minded interests can find each other on the internet. But back then it was a bigger deal, and you started this website and loaded it up with information, and it attracted. And that's what I always say, like the Paradise Lost films get a lot of credit for the liberation of the West Memphis 3.
No, that'd be amazing. I love this
not
guy.
to be falsely humble or anything. I mean, they deserve some of that credit, but so do you guys. Because I don't think, like, if the film had come out 2 years earlier or whatever, and the internet just wasn't coming into being, or you guys didn't take an interest, I don't think it's that level of support that generated, tens of thousands.
My personal opinion is I don't think they would pull it. That thing's going to they're going to get a lot of views no matter what it shows, right? This is a Academy Award winning documentary maker. It's going to be a quality documentary no matter what, like, and he seems not biased at the least. It's going to be probably a little controversial it's going to be controversial in my opinion to the mainstream narrative. And how, like, controversy is good for popularity. I think, in my opinion, Netflix wants money. I think they air it. I think they air it. You agree? Hi, simple one.
Thousands of people like finding each other, saying we're going to do something about this stranger. That's what got them out of prison. Then the celebrities came and all that stuff and whatever. But the bottom line is that initial website and your activities led to like all sorts of normal people from all walks of life going down to Arkansas and protesting on their 2 weeks of vacation. I mean, look, I marveled at that dedication because, like, let's face it, it's great that we made a good film, and it's great that the films got them out. And, I don't think it's that special. I get paid to be a filmmaker. That's my job. But for like a poster designer or a banker, there was that one dude, who was that guy who was somewhat heavyset guy who was a banker? Do you remember him? Who was part of the group early on, like JP Morgan banker or something?
Was that freezer
Bill.
door?
Bill. Yeah.
I call him freezer door.
Yeah. Anyway,
handle.
The fact that people who had other jobs other than telling stories,
oh yeah,
became so committed to these strangers in Arkansas. That to me is special. So
So I love that. And that's what I was talking about. Like, we had the first wave of this collaborative, which seems to be a collaborative approach with Whitcomb's book. Now this documentary, experts coming out. And he's right. He's right. We need like a ground level, movement, right? They protested for the West Memphis 3, what we are seeing in Moscow with what seems to be not a fair system, I'll just put it that way, which seems like that. I think the people out here in social media land, we're gonna have to start doing more to fight back. Like he said, people went out there when they could and protested. I know people have written letters and, stuff like that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Very interesting. All right. I'm going to flip over I want us to hear what he says about mainstream media. So let me find it. I know I have it. I thought it was in this interview, but maybe not. Oh, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. So this one maybe.
Like out of fit of anger to go to so much trouble to try and cover up the crime by just leaving her in the basement. And then
okay. Hold on, I'm trying to find the part. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Now, the content of this interview is the John Benet Ramsey case. Okay. But he makes some points in here that I think are important.
Release. And I remember, despite having just made a film about the press completely getting it wrong in Paradise Lost, saying that when we were literally the only people, Bruce Snow, the only people saying they were innocent. You know, you think I wouldn't have fallen for it, but like I got swept up in the press coverage. I remember, you know, my daughter Sarah was 2 at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, God, I would never put my kid in a beauty pageant. I mean,
Right.
for all BS.
Okay, so when he's talking in this interview, he's like, I just made the West Memphis 3. We were the only people out there saying these kids were innocent. And then John Benet Ramsey's murder happens. And he's like, that's when I told you this earlier, he fell for the mainstream media line about it. So then he's gonna
and so it's so fascinating for me, you know, years later to be doing this with a whole new perspective.
Hello.
And that perspective came because I was introduced to the work of this detective named Lou Smith. The family has been keeping his.
Oh my gosh, Cherry, I must have manifested you, because I was just asking somebody, I think last night, like we were talking about old usernames that we used to see in chats all the time. And I'm like, what happened to Cherry? Look at you. I'm so happy to see you. That's awesome.
Work alive. He died in 2010. And, you know, I've been, so that was one thing is the work that this guy did kind of opened my eyes to the reality of the case. And the other thing that I've been fascinated with for years, and it's a theme in a lot of my work, including the much maligned Blair Witch 2. You know, the idea that when you blur the line between entertainment and reality, and between, you know, fiction and news, between entertainment and news, that line got very blurry in the early, which was the theme of Blair Witch 2.
Yeah.
You know, that line got very blurry in this case. And I think you can draw a direct line between OJ and then John Benet and the media frenzy that happened.
Yeah.
I think you can draw a direct line to where we've landed today, where opinion journalism has replaced real journalism.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Opinion journalism has replaced real journalism. Yep. We are so happy to have you, Cherry. That is so crazy. It's because I think maybe it's because I was like holding my crystal a lot yesterday. Good things happened yesterday. Let's keep that going. The other thing that I just heard him say, I don't know if you guys caught this, but he said he saw the work that an investigator was doing in the John Benet Ramsey case. Again, that could be Brent Turvey. Did he see some of the work that could have possibly been shared, or at least shared verbally, right? Yeah, bingo.
Where half the country, we just went through an election, and we know that half the country, you know, again, I don't want to take sides. We're, you know, hopefully this is a period where people try to de-escalate the rhetoric or whatever, but we know that on so many issues, whether it's COVID, you know, Trump, Democrats as satanic pedophiles, you know,
right.
You know, half the country wakes up and half the world wakes up and has the exact opposite view of reality.
Yeah.
Than your neighbor. And
Mm-hmm.
it has become very elusive. And that is a theme that has concerned me for a long time, including, you know, I did a show a couple of years ago for Peacock called Shadowland, which was about conspiracy thinking and how people come to believe crazy things.
Yeah.
And this case, to me, the John Benet Ramsey case, was kind of the OG, the foundational case for this rise of opinion journalism where we find ourselves today.
Right.
you know, before OJ, you know, there was once a sacrosanct line between the entertainment division of a network and the news division of a network.
Yes. Yeah.
I was muted. I said, this is the part he is going to say, you know, according to him, how he has seen things play out where mainstream media fell apart. Okay. And, you know, he's saying like back in, you know, maybe before the 90s, he's going to put a timeline on it. But there in networks, there used to be a clear divide. This is entertainment over here, and this is news reporting over here. And if you're old enough like me, there was a clear, you could tell when the news came on, it used to be it was very factual. You could tell that those people talking as the talking heads of news, they never gave their opinion. It was just black and white, like, here's what happened. And somewhere along the way that ended. And that's what he's going to talk about.
The news division of a network was not there to make money. The news division of a network was there as a public service to the viewer in exchange for an FCC license.
Yes.
Public service. The news was a public service. So you have a news network. You can have your network, you know, run ads, fund your station, be able to pay your salaries, you know, equipment, and the government will give you a license, the FCC, to run your show. That's the way it was.
Along the line in the early 90s, people realized that, hey, news can make money. And, you know, all of a sudden there was an explosion of cable networks. All of a sudden there was 500 cable networks. The OJ case kind of kicked off, which was that same year, earlier.
Yeah.
The OJ case kicked off, this 24-hour news cycle that never existed before. All of a sudden, you had to feed the monster of the daily headline, and ethical standards went out the window. You know, once reporting. And so when I dug into this case and realized and discovered that the Boulder police were feeding false and incriminating stories to the press to smoke them out because they locked into this false idea that the parents were guilty, it just felt like I wanted to make a comment about all of that, in addition to, you know, righting this wrong, this poor Ramsey family.
I just love what he said here. Like, just explaining it. Here's what happened. News networks were like, hey, we can become profitable. We can make tons of money if we sensationalize things. And now all of a sudden, like, the news used to be on at, like, you know, 5 p.m. and 11 at night, right? 6 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news. That's the way it used to be. You turned on your TV at those times to get the news. And now it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they have to fill all that time, and it's become more entertainment, and it's for profit. And so in turn, it's less about being factual. It's less about staying neutral. And now he's citing a case, the John Benet Ramsey case. He said he was shown some of the investigation, and then he saw the cops feeding a narrative that was not supported by the evidence, and they were feeding that to the press. Hello? Where'd I put it? Where did I put you? Because we need this.
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
Yeah. Do you think Moscow did that? Do you think the prosecution did that? Yep. Love and Other Habits. The talking heads were only fed the narrative that was being served. Yep. And if any reporter deviated, they were turned away. The networks control the viewpoint, and now Washington, D.C. controls that. Absolutely. That is what happened. Absolutely. Look at all of, oh my gosh, I can think of so many reporters who were news reporters on the air, and they were allowed to give their opinion. I'm not going to say these were neutral people. They were not neutral people, but their opinions didn't align with the narrative that probably the government, now that the government's in control, wanted out there, and they got fired. So many people got fired, lost their jobs because they refused to, or they were questioning things. I mean, that's our right to freedom of information. We talk about freedom of information requests. What about the information we're getting on the news? It's not supposed to be controlled by the government. It's supposed to be independent. Yeah. Hey, Mike. We are hyped for this Netflix documentary.
Can you imagine first of all, John Ramsey is like a hero of mine now, because he's so stoic in light of what he's endured.
Yeah.
He lost his 22-year-old daughter in a car accident. A few years later, which is horrible, 2 years later, his precious 6-year-old is killed and assaulted in the most horrific of ways.
Yeah.
And then he's blamed for it. And then all that blame and stress, I believe, and he believes, brought Patsy's cancer back, and she died of ovarian cancer. I mean,
well, I know some people still have different opinions about what happened in that case, but it is a cold case. They do have DNA. They should have been able to rule everybody out. I don't know why that didn't happen. We're not really, the John Benet Ramsey case is just the content of why they were interviewing him. But I just loved his point about he knows. So the focus today is, is this documentary filmmaker who made the Netflix documentary that's dropping tonight after midnight sometime, is it going to be just another traditional hit piece like we've seen on every other channel? I feel like I have presented enough today to at least be hopeful that if this guy, Joe Berlinger is his name, if he stays true to his past in the past, I feel it will be a bring in the other side of the investigation, fight against the narrative type of docuseries. Now, he's the filmmaker. I told you at the beginning that there is a director. The director is a woman who always focuses on the families and the victims. So I also believe it's going to be heavy on that. So I'm not going to be surprised if the whole first episode is about, which rightfully so. I hope it is heavy on the victims. We should keep the victims in the forefront and what happened to them, But when it comes to starting to discuss the case and the investigation, I hope this guy comes through, and I feel he has probably had communication with Brent Turvey and knows that there's some questions about this case. And I just hope some of that is brought out and he takes that approach with this documentary. So I'm going to stop there for today. I hope you guys will all join us tomorrow in our Discord at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern time in Discord. You got to come to Discord and you have to scroll all the way to the bottom where it says Squawk Box. Click on the Squawk Box and you'll see where it says Netflix. And all you do is click. Just click and you'll be in it. And Kawanda, hello. ATP news is being controlled by the Epstein class. Yes. What is ATP? What's the Associated Press? Associated Press? Yeah. I mean, we're not supposed to have it that way in our country, but they changed. I could talk politics, but I won't. Oh, at this point, I don't know all those little abbreviations. At this point, news is being controlled by. Thank you for that. Hey, I think there's too much evidence for anybody to argue against that. So, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Come to our Discord. I will put a community post about it. The Discord link should have been pinned, but let me grab it one more time. Right here. And we'll be able to watch the series together and chat about it. We won't talk while it's being shown. We're just going to watch it and you can comment in the chat. I want this. And talk to each other. And then I think it's 3 parts. So when one part ends, I think Jen plans on letting everybody chit chat for a little while. You can talk to each other. So that'll be cool. That will be cool. Mystics and all the police. Oh, we could probably just sit here all day and make up little words for that acronym, right? Annie Ruler, I was thinking, in fact, right before the news broke that he was withdrawing his plea, I was saying I thought the Netflix documentary would come out and then something would happen with an appeal. And then right after, I was in the middle of saying that and everybody in the chat started saying, he's withdrawing his plea. And I was like, what? And then that's when we found out. And then last night I was talking to Carlos and I'm like, I think it makes more sense for him to drop his appeal request first and write that public letter because everybody's in an uproar. Everybody's going to have their reactions. And then the Netflix series is going to drop. And if this is what we hope it is, I feel like it's going to support him. So he's making his claim first, and I hope some support is going to follow. That's what I'm thinking. So if you guys want to go watch Joe Berlinger, Berlinger is his name. Tons of documentaries, tons of TV shows he's done about true crime cases. Go watch some of his stuff. And I am not going to be on my regular live schedule, as far as I know, for the next, what's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, for the next, till next Monday. So I will come on. I do plan on being live. What form that's going to be in, I'm not sure. I might just be on my phone and just come on and, talk to you guys about what's going on. I might be able to set up my computer and do a good live. So we're going to be flexible. So please make sure your notifications are turned on and join me if you can. Yep. thank you for joining me today, everybody. Thank you for the super chats that were given. I loved the one that said, I'll remember where I was when I heard the news about Brian Kohberger. That was awesome. Have a wonderful rest of your day, you guys. And I'll see you. I will see you sometime this week. I will be watching the docuseries, and I will be popping into the chat. I promise that. So see you guys tomorrow. Clocking out for now. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Subscribe, it's free and keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew now, right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. That could be unique, yeah, that's you and me. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. It's free, it keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew, now right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife and wild to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. Yeah, that's you and me. That's you and me. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear.